Good day and welcome exporters everywhere. Thank you for being with us today. Welcome to another Go Global webinar, Webinar Wednesdays. Today we're going to be talking about strategies for international online marketing. So we're delighted that you're all here and joining us today to talk about that. Before we start the webinar, and just to make sure that we're just while the last of us are logging on, a couple of little housekeeping things. So housekeeping, today's webinar is 45 minutes long. We will keep it under an hour, promise. We have left some time for Q&A at the end, and we would really encourage you to put your questions in. There's a chat box on your screen, usually on the right-hand side of your screen. So it's either questions or chat box. Stick your questions in there, your chat box in there, or your chats in there, and we will get back to you at the end of the webinar. If we don't have time, we'll get back to you directly as well. So please do put in your questions. We welcome them. We will be, as I said, about 45 minutes, 50 minutes long. During the webinar, we're also going to have 3 polls, and we would love you to respond. Just click on the answer that you'll see on your screen, the one that most fits you. We also have a handout during the webinar about social media and global social media. And at the end of this webinar, there's a very, very, very brief survey, which we would like you to click on. I think there's about 5 questions, so it's very short. It's a yes, no, most of them, very, very short questionnaire for you. So you can sit back, enjoy, and if you enjoy this webinar, perhaps you'd like to have a look at some of the other previous webinars we've done, either about countries or anything that is about the online world. My name is Susanna Hardy. I am the Chief Content Officer for IBT Online, and I've been with IBT for a while now, since 2005. I think what's really interesting is the title Chief Content Officer just reflects how important content has become for the web and recognized as a key driver for getting sales, for building brand, and converting that into good export sales. I'm really delighted today to be joined by our senior online marketing manager, Joelle. And Joelle, I've asked her to share some of her highlights and experiences, to talk about strategies for international online marketing, and sort of condense some of that wisdom down into a slide deck, really, sort of a 1-hour webinar. Again, put in questions, and we'd love to hear more from you. I've also asked Bella to join us. Bella is one of our online marketing managers. Bella is really good at Instagram, and she's going to be doing a little focus on Instagram itself and how that can help you, especially in developing brand awareness. And I'm delighted that both of them could take some time today to share some of their experiences, some of their expertise in international online marketing. So just a very brief word also about our company, IBT Online. IBT stands for International Business and Technologies. We've been around for quite a while now, since 2002. We're 100% focused on companies that export and on solving some of the issues that exporters have. And we solve those issues through online tools. In other words, localized websites and international online marketing. So we're delighted to be also have been recognized as a Champion of Trade Award and in Game Changer and so on. So that's really great for us. But we also recognized by about 18 US states to provide them with online global programs. So again, we're really happy to be doing that. And as I said, we're 100% focused on helping exporters to use online tools to help to grow their brand, their business, their exports, their sales internationally. So today's agenda, folks, we are packed it full of a lot of information, but basically today's agenda is about international online marketing. We split up between sort of 5 sections. It's really the 5th section, just a quick summary of everything. First, we're going to try and give sort of a big, broad brush landscape picture of social media and the online world today. Then we're going to go into something called a buyer persona. What does that mean on an international perspective? And what does that mean for you for looking at if you're at your marketing side? Then looking at the buyer's journey. How does the buyer go from sort of, saying, I think I need a product, to finding you and making sure that they buy your product. And we're going to talk also about setting your goals and designing your international online marketing strategy. So that's a lot to go through in a brief time. So let's get started right away. So just talking about the 2019 social media landscape and how that means. Let's take a look first at some of the very, very big numbers. So these numbers, this is on the left-hand side of your screen is a sort of a snapshot, 2019, January 2019, nearly a year ago, the number of people across the world who are using the internet. So nearly 4.5 billion people out of 7 billion that we're now on the planet using the internet, active internet users. Now Hootsuite does this every year as a sort of big landscape tour of the world. And just to say, what's interesting to me is that number is actually growing considerably. It's growing at sort of, I think in 2018, it grew by 9%. So, that's about sort of, nearly 400 million people joined and came online for the first time in 2019. This is despite all the controversy over privacy and hacking and fake news. So we are still all getting online all the time for this. We're not just getting online every now and then. The average time spent per person is 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day on the internet. And what are they doing? Well, a lot of them are just communicating. We're doing social media. It's really just fueled this huge social media growth. So 45% of the world's population are now social media users. That's 3.5 billion people. That's what, 10 times the size of the US population, by the way. I put down a word there, social equals search. A lot of people are also recognizing that social media is increasingly taking over and replacing, or at least going in tandem with ordinary or traditional search engines. So you used to only go to Google, for example, if you're sitting in the UK, you go to google.co.uk, you type in what you want to search, and now you come out. Nowadays, a lot of people are saying, well, I'm going to see what Facebook has to say, or what about my WhatsApp groups? So social has become significant in search. I think that's what one of the main messages of this webinar is. Now, what has all this meant for your business? It's meant that you have to be customer-centric. It means that the internet has forced you to put the customer at the heart of the whole buying experience. So it's no longer even necessarily about price or competition like that. It's about how the customer feels and what the customer knows. And your job, if you're in charge of marketing and sales, your job is to influence some of those little black arrows on the right-hand side of your screen that goes customer to customer, or customer competitor, customer company, in a positive and responsible way that builds brand awareness and therefore trust that is so needed in the buyer's journey. I'm going to step back for 1 second because I want to address the topic as well of localization, because that's important not just for your websites, but for online media as well, for online marketing. If you're going to go into international online marketing, you have to know what localization means. And the easiest way I have to explain it is to say, well, go back to search engines. Search engines, just like all the social media platforms, just like Facebook, just like YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, they are all localized. That means that they put the customer at the center, or the searcher at the center. That means, for example, that if you are sitting in Ohio and you're trying to reach someone in Germany, your US, Ohio-based website and social media is not going to be very relevant. Google Germany is going to say, maybe that person, that company in Ohio is not relevant for this person in Germany. So think of Google as, Google's present in 192 countries and regions. So think of Google as 192 different Googles. And we'll come back to this later and with other examples. But just now, I wanted to put on one slide just all of our sort of criteria for localization. Same applies to websites as social media localization and online marketing. They are customer-centric, which means, and here you have 10 criteria for localized websites, but it applies also for international online marketing. They have to be fully adapted, fully designed, and accessible in the local market. They have to be relevant to the local searcher. So they have to be in that language. They have to be follow the regulations of that country, hosted locally, all those things, optimized for the local search engine. That's what localization is. So it's translating is the language is just 1 out of 10 different criteria that you need to have on board here. Now we're going to talk a bit now. Once we've got this localization issue sort of understood, we're going to talk about social media best practices. But before I do that, I want to launch a very quick poll. So please have a look at your screen, and you should see a poll coming up. Do you have localized websites for your business? Do you have it for all of your main export markets? Are you thinking about it? Do you have it for just a few of your export markets? Do you have it for everywhere? I'm still getting a lot of people responding, so it's shifting quite a bit, but I can give you some quick feedback. About let's say a good third of you have it for a few export markets. And I'm sorry, a third, okay, finally it's settling down. About half of you have it for a few export markets. A minority have it for all main export markets. And that is a delight. We're very, very pleased to see that. We're pleased to see that many of you already have some localized websites for a few export markets. And that means that you are absolutely ready to go on to social media and online marketing. We wanted to put on one slide some of the key things that we feel are right for social media best practices. And Joelle and Bella will flesh some of those out. But what we wanted to do is just put this all on one slide here as a sort of summary. The first is to have some kind of a localized website to act as a local platform. In other words, if you're going to be doing some things in Facebook in Germany, then your German prospective customer needs a place to go. And that is probably not going to be back to your US website. It's going to be something that he recognizes and is easy to get to. So a German localized website, for example. The question is even more so when you start looking at, China or Mexico or the Philippines or even the UK, which is in English. So having a localized website means your online marketing can really, function well and perform well for your localized audience. Next is know your audience. This is your buyer persona. Then, which platforms will your buyer persona use? Make sure you have well-defined goals for your strategy. Otherwise, you never know if the strategy is working or not. There's something called the rule of thirds. We'll get on to that. And it's always a good idea to do some landscaping. What's going on around you? What's happening all around you? What's there? And look at your competitors. Look at some of the top people around. Look at other companies. What are they doing? And then always engage. Answer all comments. Answer all mentions. Engage with anybody. So with that, I'm going to turn to Joelle, and we're going to talk about knowing your buyer persona. Joelle, if you'd like to step in and talk about your buyer persona, Joelle.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Susanna, and good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you logged in today. Fantastic. So just talking about a buyer persona. So for those of you who are not familiar, haven't heard of a buyer persona before, just as an introduction, as HubSpot themselves define it, a buyer persona is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer, which is based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So you might be wondering, why is this important? So This really allows you, having an idea of who your buyer persona is, allows you to make sure that you're always reaching the right person at the right time with the right message. And this eventually will end up saving yourself a lot of time and a lot of resources. So when you think about who your buyer persona could be, you can start by thinking about, for example, what language they speak, their age bracket, where are they located. So especially if you're thinking about different markets, where do they live, how much they earn, how much they spend, what they buy, how they research. And there are a lot of factors to take into account. So you look at all of that and say, so how do you figure this out? Where do you start? So we wanted to bring you an example on the next slide, which to me is a great example here, for example, from Zipcar, where the mission statement, even though very clear who they're trying to reach, who the buyer persona is, in the mission statement, they include the target market being an urban, educated, tech-savvy, and environmentally conscious consumer. So this really helped them by defining who they're trying to target, who their buyer persona is. They will then be able to create content. For example, here we have an example of their Instagram post, but also everything from social media, blog posts, down to search engine optimization and search engine marketing even. So the good news here is that creating a buyer persona shouldn't really be too hard to do either. You really already know the main attributes of your buyer persona. So what I'd recommend doing if you're thinking about who your buyer persona should be and how to design one, just get your sales teams and your customers team all together, get them sitting around a table and just chat to them, ask them who the typical buyer, who the typical interaction, who they interact with on a daily basis. And this will really start fleshing out your buyer persona that you can then use across the specific marketing activities and across all of the different channels that you're using.
Well, Joelle, thank you so much. Fantastic. We're going to get back to Joelle when we talk about individual strategies for online marketing. But right now, we're just going to talk a bit about the buyer's journey and your buyer persona's journey. So we've talked a bit about localization. Now we've talked about a buyer's persona. And now we're going to talk about the buyer's journey. I wanted to show this map really just to sort of highlight, as we said earlier, 3.5 billion people using social media networks across the world today. There's some huge ones. I mean, Facebook is the real huge giant in the room. It has a global presence, and we're going to get back to that later. But I just wanted to say it's pretty well every single country in the world is now using social media. There's not one country that's not. And some of them are using it, for example, a lot more than they would, as I mentioned earlier, than they would search engines. So, for example, in a lot of the mobile-first markets, I'm thinking of, for example, Indonesia, the Philippines, there's more activity on social media than there is on browsers. What does that mean in terms of localization? And again, this gets back to our point about localization. I want to give you an example of localization. And here you have an example of, this is the same search engine. It's Google in each case, google.com in the USA and google.co.uk in the UK. It's the same language, it's English in both cases. And the search that we did was red shoes. And the results are significantly different. In fact, there's pretty well no overlap between those results. And that is for something that's extremely generic, like red shoes. So again, just to show these are very, very different markets, even though they have the same language. One of the keys that you're going to come across again and again, whether it's website localization or social media and online marketing for international markets, is this concept of keywords. And localizing the keywords means making sure that you are using exactly the right vocabulary and exactly the right terminology and words for your market. Again, an example I wanted to give you, these are two markets, Spain and Mexico. They both speak Spanish. They both use Google dominantly. I mean, 90% market share is Google. Different keywords. And therefore, you're going to have different ad campaigns. So in Spain, you're going to orientate your ad campaign around the word coche, because 91% of the people in Spain search for the word coche when they're looking for the word car or car-related products on social media and on the web, on a browser. And in Mexico, it's not coche so much as the word auto. So again, same search engine, same language, different Google ad campaigns because of a different keyword. So again, that's just an example of localization for your online marketing. I wanted to bring this in as well. What about your top level domain names? What about your URL? And here, I mean, this is a horrible sort of chart, but I just wanted to show you the kind of complexity you can have when you're saying, I want to reach a certain type of person in a certain language in a certain area. You know, I want to reach everybody in Germany. Then the best URL probably is going to be, you know, yourbrand.de, DE for Germany. Well, I actually want to talk to, you know, I want to talk to Spanish-speaking people in Germany, and then it's a different URL, or it could be a different URL. So again, it comes down to the detail, and that is, you know, this is for a website localization, but the same is true for online marketing. Let's look at some of the major players, starting with the big blue Facebook. Now, Facebook is localized, and you all now know what localized means. It means putting the customer-centric, putting your local person at the center of the searches. Facebook is available in over 100 languages. You know, there's over 2 billion monthly active active users, and that was up 18%. Over 1 billion people log on to Facebook every day. So it really is the global reach. There's some big exceptions though, China and Russia. But nevertheless, this is the really big platform to use for a lot of us when we start out, especially if you start saying, okay, Facebook owns WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook Messenger, and therefore we can also, you know, somehow devise strategies for online marketing which bounce off from Facebook onto WhatsApp, onto an Instagram, and so on. So combining all three of those big ones. But the point that I really want to make out from this is that Facebook US is not the same as Facebook UK or Facebook Australia or Facebook India. So again, these are localized online marketing campaigns and strategies that you need to do. YouTube, you know, actually finding hard stats from YouTube is surprisingly difficult, but according to YouTube, 5 billion videos are watched on YouTube every single day. You know, they're just absolutely huge. Almost a third of all people on the internet are watching YouTube. I think viewing time on YouTube is accelerated. It's up by about 50% for 3 years in a row. Really just amazing. So this is just showing you how strong YouTube is. As a marketing tool, it is incredibly effective and also cost efficient. You can reach many markets with one YouTube if you're going to localize it though. And that's what you also have to do. You don't have to necessarily, you know, dub the speaking voices each time, but if you're going to localize it, then it's a really cost efficient way of actually spreading your message out there. By the way, we have a strong YouTube. We have a lot of things on our YouTube platforms, and I'm sure you all do too. I wanted to ask now for another poll, a very quick poll. Does your company use videos to promote your brand? It doesn't have to be on YouTube, could be on other platforms. Do you use it in your domestic market? Are you using it for your domestic markets and all your export markets? Domestic market and just a few little export markets. There's still quite a few of you putting in your results, but I can tell you that contrary to, it's almost the opposite of what we saw on the previous poll. The previous poll, about 40% of you said that you're beginning to have some localized websites, but in this poll, 50% of you basically use YouTube only in your domestic market. I think that's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for that. So there's a good quarter of you that are using it in some of your export markets, but 50% of you are using it only in your domestic market. So think about using video. Could be a great way of reaching more people quickly. Just one, I won't go into individual markets at all. We just thought we would give a nod in the direction of some of the markets. YouTube, of course, is banned in China. And if you're looking for that YouTube equivalent, that one-stop shop, well, there isn't a one-stop. So you can use a lot of different social media channels and share the videos on them, from Tencent to Youku. There are lots of different, Bilibili. There's lots of different platforms and video, short video apps and so on. So again, we have separate information just about China itself, but that's one of the big non-YouTube markets for that. Just moving on, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is interesting, and I think sometimes I think US exporters don't actually realize the impact of LinkedIn in other markets. 70% of LinkedIn users are from outside the USA. And LinkedIn outside the USA is not only a means of finding a job. People go on there for lots of different reasons. So it's not just a place to post to hang out your CV. So it's worth having a look at. For some markets, it's one of the most effective ways you can find for getting new leads and lead generation in some markets. Note that after the USA, the top markets for LinkedIn: India, China, Brazil, UK, France are very, very strong LinkedIn markets. And this is just a quick plug for us. How about joining our LinkedIn group? Where Export US Exporters Go Global. Come and join us. I want to now turn to Bella and ask her a little bit about Instagram. Bella, if you could give us a couple of words then on Instagram. Bella?
Yeah, sure, Susanna. I would love to give you a little overview. So similar to Facebook, Instagram is huge. So Instagram has over 1 billion active users monthly, which makes it the second biggest social media platform in the world. So only Facebook is still bigger. But if we see the increase of Instagram in the past years, it's only a matter of time until it's the biggest one. So if you are still wondering if Instagram is the right social media platform for your business, the answer is definitely yes. 80% of all Instagram users follow at least one business account, and the users are proactive. So in a world like nowadays, businesses need to reach and interact with potential clients and customers, and Instagram is definitely the platform to do so. Instagram has the highest engagement rate of all the social media platforms in the world, and the users spend 53 minutes a day on Instagram. 95 million posts are published every day on Instagram, and 4.2 billion likes are made on Instagram every day. So it's a great platform to interact with users and also to engage. But that's not all. If you want to increase your purchases, Instagram is also a great platform to do so, because 48% of all Instagram users said that they made a purchase because of a brand's video they watched on the platform. So you can use it actually in various ways. But before you start setting up your Instagram profile now, I will just give you a quick overview on the 3 main ways of publishing your content on Instagram. So the first way would be the feed. The feed represents your official brand on Instagram. It's the first thing people see when they visit your profile. It could be like a video or an image you post, and people can see it, as mentioned, either on your profile. If they follow you, they can see it on their private feed, but also in the explore section of Instagram, they could see your posts. Then it's important on the feed that your profile and your different posts you create are in a high quality, and it has a really good and high quality layout in general. Then we are coming to the story section. So the story section is in contrast to the feed, your unofficial brand. The story only remains for 24 hours in your profile, so it gives you lots of space to experiment. You could, for instance, publish some teasers of your company or your products. You can set polls. You can upload videos of behind the scenes of your company, or in this case, as in our example, you could promote a blog. And the last part of publishing content on Instagram is the IGTV. IGTV are videos you can publish, and it's relatively new if you compare it to the other two ways of publishing. And therefore it doesn't have the option to create ads, so it's mainly organically. But nevertheless, it's a great way to publish longer videos, because while you can only publish videos up to 60 seconds on your feed, you can publish videos in IGTV for up to 60 minutes. So it's a good way, for instance, to upload instruction and how-to videos, as also in our example here.
Bella, terrific. That was a whistle-stop tour of Instagram. And I think one of the other big lessons is just how visual online marketing is and how that's growing. You know, as Bella was saying, this Instagram could well overtake Facebook, given its growth rates at the moment. And it's a it's even more visual than Facebook is. And, you know, you saw that with YouTube as well. So again, this conclusion about how visual online marketing is. So now we want to turn to Joelle to talk a little bit about setting your goals and designing your international online marketing strategy. Joelle?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Susanna. Thank you very much, Bella. Okay, so first thing first, just following from the example Susanna shared with you a little bit earlier, I just wanted to bring you back here for a second, because I really think the keywords are or should be really at the core of all international marketing activities. So this is another great example of how your choice of words can really influence your results. And it's not only on search, but we can also think about social media and any content creation. Here, for example, if one of your key markets is Brazil versus Portugal, and one of the words that you think your prospective customers will be looking on the internet to find you includes the word train, for example. Here if you're looking to get more Brazilian prospects, then you'd better make sure that you're using the term comboio, where here you see 98% of Brazilian Portuguese searches would use the term comboio versus the term trem that you'd find being more popular in Portugal. And why this is important is because online marketing really is all about building awareness of your brand through different channels, and eventually building trust for user with your brand. So you really want to make sure that your content and all of your social media posts resonate with the native users in the specific market you're trying to build brand awareness in. So that's why keywords are very important, not only when building your website and optimizing for search engine optimization, but continuing on that keyword research is very important. So I just thought I'll put that out there. I just wanted to bring back what Susanna mentioned, but starting to think about an international online marketing strategy, one of the biggest mistake actually we see companies making is not measuring their success. And a lot of time this is because they didn't start by defining clear goals. So if you want to be able to measure the outcomes of your marketing efforts, of your marketing campaigns, it means that you really have to define and set objectives and really think about what realistic goals would be. So is a market, you're going into Mexico, for example, where you have some clients already, some distributors, you're a completely new market where no one have ever heard of your brand. So for international markets, setting goals and expectation can be especially important, as I mentioned, you're building brand recognition, and the trust there is really so needed in to guide your the users to become your customers through the buyer journey we discussed earlier. So before you can start designing your marketing strategy, you need to think about your goals. So this will then inform what metrics will be important to you, and those will then be the ones you should really be focusing on. So once this is set up, obviously don't forget to keep an eye on them. So here we say define your goal, choose your metric, analyze and learn. So analyze results, and if needed, learn from what is not working so well, try and emulate what is working better, and make changes when necessary. So here we've just given a few examples of KPIs or key performance indicators you could track. So you could see how many users have viewed your page, how many people recall seeing an ad that you've posted, how long they watch your videos for, how many clicks you've received, the conversion rate from an advert to your website, obviously sales number, but also social sharing and comments on social media. So here again, when designing your marketing strategy, it's important to always make sure that the marketing strategy and your goals are aligned with the overall business strategy. So this will also give you actually a very good starting point to decide what you want to achieve and consequently how you're going to monitor this, or what metrics you should really focus on during your campaigns. So if we take a social media here, for example, you can see that within a singular platform, so let's say Facebook, for the sake of this example that you're seeing at the moment, you can already tailor your activities to the goals and the overall objectives of your business. So if you wanted to grow your brand, then what you need to focus on is brand awareness. So you'll be measuring how many followers your page has, how many shares, and how many likes. If you are looking at converting your prospective customer who are already a little bit further down in the buyer journeys, a little bit more further down the funnel, if you want, and you want to drive leads and sales, then you'll be targeting and measuring conversions. And here you'll be looking at website clicks, email signups, form submissions, and so on. So this just to really show how within one single platform, you can already tailor your marketing strategy to what you want to achieve in the specific market. And don't forget that there is a lot, and I mean a lot of content that is already out there that can be very helpful to get you started and to help you achieve your goals. So I really like this, how they call it the rule of thirds, if we talk about social media marketing. So let's take a look, for example, is common practice to think that a good social media strategy should really consist of these three elements. So a third of the posts that you share would be to promote your company. So this would be targeted to gain followers, to share benefits, and establish thought leadership. So showing your followers why you are the best choice for them for that specific service or for that specific product. And a third of the share post should be ideas from influencers. So here you'll be using content that others in the industry have already created really for you, showing that you understand the industry, you understand the challenges, the pain points, the solutions, and that you're there to collaborate. So these also help build brand trust, which is, again, I cannot repeat it often enough, is so important to really build a relationship with users and prospective customers. And a third of the posts that you share should then be company stories. So success stories, client testimonials, they're a fantastic way to grow your brand, establish credibility, and once again, build trust. So here we have what I think is a really good example of how for the Port of Panama City have used social media to really to share news whilst linking the post to influencers, gaining more visibility and establish themselves as the thought leaders. So here, for example, on social media, you can retweet from another credible source. You can add a call to action. So for example, read a blog, download a free white paper if you have, or a product demo. You can share successes of companies and agencies you work with, and then by tagging the appropriate companies or people, you will then be able to enhance visibility of your post and equally your brand. And then you can share information from other sources and really linking yourself with the right people, making sure that you build that brand awareness and brand trust at the same time. And as some of you are already doing, I hope there is nothing wrong in looking at what others are doing, your competitors, influencers in your area, what they're doing. And it's always a good idea, I think, to take inspiration from who's doing it right, seeing what they're doing and see how you can take advantage of it and replicate in your own industry. as well. So as mentioned, social media is really a fantastic space to build relationships. And as we mentioned, once again, trust with your prospect and why not your current customers. So if you engage, if you include social media, and personally I think you should, in your international online marketing strategy, then you need to make sure that you listen and you give prompt conversation responses to any comments, any mentions. You can invite people to like your page. You can prompt connections on Instagram and LinkedIn. So if you're active on social media, make sure you engage with your follower. And social media listening, as all of this is called, is a very powerful tool in engaging your followers and then building your brand awareness and making sure that if they like what you're posting, they will then reshare it on their own personal feed, really then boosting the reach of your brand and of your content further than what you could have done on the social media platform itself. So that's really, really powerful if done correctly and in a humane way in this sense. So just to give you an idea of how we can really bring all of what I've mentioned here together, so how to set your objective, your goals, your KPI, and what social media channels, I just wanted to share with you some case studies from our clients. So here, for example, the slide features a blog we had localized for our clients for the UK and for Latin American markets. So the main objectives for this post were to drive mid-funnel traffic to the blog. So having a targeted user clicking onto the blogs, clicking onto the post, redirecting them onto the blog page for them to read the full article. And we've promoted the content on social media to really boost performance and reach, as I mentioned, this targeted audience. And here, at the same time as managing to drive a high volume of mid-funnel traffic to the site, we also notice a boost in keywords in organic searches landing on our blog via Google. So here, the metrics that we've listed for you to demonstrate how we can measure performance of a mid-funnel and SEO blog would be event tracking to measure user behavior. So how many people have then clicked and reacted to the blog. How many people have then from the blog page decided to email one of the distributor or to click onto their website or an e-shop or even call directly the representatives in their area. And then search queries volume is also something that we kept an eye on, and we saw that thanks to people reading the blog and social media being part of SEO, we've managed to get some really good organic traffic as well. So now, if your brand is still getting known in your target market, so if you're newer to the specific market, then you should be looking at creating top funnel content to drive targeted traffic to the site, building up pixel audience, which then allow you to retarget these users with more specific products or more specific ads. So in this case, this is an example of Bowman Products promoting in the UK and in Germany. In this case, our target persona was identified as an art teacher, and by creating and promoting what we call a top funnel blog on social media, we were then able to gather a range of targeted audience within the correct buyer persona to then go back to the website, allowing us to create this remarketing list to which we could then go back and show them more products related to art supply, more products related to what they might be interested in, which is really, really powerful. So through Facebook, via the website, and back again through retargeting. So one key thing to remember, as we mentioned previously, is that each market will really need its dedicated strategy. So it's not just a buyer persona, they might differ from market to market, but because the users you're trying to reach are different, then your strategy should be different, as they're likely to have different needs and be searching for information in a different way. So here again, I've got some examples of how our clients have successfully moved into new markets for them. So Canada, for example, so when we start researching a new market and the online opportunities with one of our clients, for example, here we see how many 33 million Canadians that use the internet. Mobile users seem to be the vast majority, so making sure the websites and all of our campaigns are mobile optimized. But what I find interesting with Canada is that website localization for this client was key. So making sure that the website is optimized, and yes, Canada seems very close. Canada is English, but English spoken in Canada is, in terms of website localization and keyword research, is very different to what's spoken in the UK or in the US. So localizing your website is very important, and this is the foundation to get found in the market and then build your online strategy upon. And similarly with another client that wanted to expand their exports in Mexico. Social media for them was a great place to start to build brand awareness. So here we have some resources as well that you can go and find on the IBT website if you want to find out more about how social media can be very powerful in a market like Mexico or Latin America to really start building brand awareness and launch your brand and build a pipeline for your exports, like our clients ASG here have done. So again, research and then deciding what platform would work best for them to get brand awareness in the specific market. And the last example I want to show you today is Japan. So Japan, for many of our clients, the first site can be a difficult market to penetrate with very strict cultural and even marketing rules to follow, where they have very strict marketing rules in terms of the language that can be used, how much of it can be English, how much of it should be Japanese. But with over 100 million people using the internet every day, we really think this is an opportunity that shouldn't be missed. And that's why IBT work very closely with our clients. Here you can see the example of their localized website, and we've built a series of resources, webinars and infographics for you to have a look at, because we are here to help you really get started in this market and guide you through how to build the persona and how to build your marketing strategy. So I hope this was helpful, and I just want to, before I digress too much and I'm conscious of time, I just want to pass back to Susanna to give a little bit of an overview and a bit of a wrap up of today, if that's okay.
Joelle, thank you so much. Before I do that, and I do see quite a few questions coming in, but keep them coming in, I'd like to launch our very last poll. Do you actively use social media and online marketing in your business? So, you know, are you thinking about it domestically but not internationally? Do you use it for absolutely everywhere? Are you already a global player? Just a few export markets, domestic? Where are you at? There are a few of you who use it domestically and in all your main export markets. The vast majority of you are just a very few export markets. Well, actually, it seems to be changing. I'd say it's split 50-50 between domestic but not international, and domestic and a very few export markets. But we encourage you to go on out there and continue that trend. Go and continue, and well done. Thank you for answering those polls. Now I'm going to get really sort of, I do see the questions coming in, and there's some very interesting ones. I just want to sort of wrap up a little bit and sort of say, you know, where are we here on this webinar? Let's give some takeaways and then some Q&A. So the takeaways that we wanted to talk to first was that basically, if you are an exporter in today's world, then you need to have localized websites, and you need to have localized international online marketing. Why? Because the world is online. And your prospect out there in the UAE, or your prospect in Indonesia or in France, once they, you know, to find you, they'll look online. To vet you and to understand you and get to know you, they'll go online. And maybe even to do business, they want to go online. So you need to make sure that you are easily found, well understood, and easy to do business with. That means localized websites and international online marketing that is also localized. And what does that mean in terms of your website and your social media? It means many things. It's not just about translating the text. It's not just about sort of sticking one extra page onto your domestic website. It actually means really making sure that you are embedded in the local culture, in the local online world for that country. There's quite a few, there's a question, for example, that's come up. What about Twitter? very, very few of our clients, for example, use Twitter for business in Europe, for example. But if they're going to go to Japan, then they use it extensively, because that's the cultural aspects that you need to take into account if you want to be found and do business in Japan. So it's really about being good for the local, being customer-centric. That diagram we saw at the very beginning, being customer-centric. Oops, I've got a duplicate slide. There you go. Same thing again. We wanted to repeat this slide as well. This social media best practice. This means having a localized website to act as a local platform, so that when someone does read your Facebook ad or does reply to your WhatsApp group or whatever, that they know where to go to find you. That you need to know your audience, in other words, your buyer persona, and choose which platforms are the best for your business. Setting your goals, defining your strategy, the rule of thirds that Joelle mentioned, learning from competitors and searching out always best of class, and always being responsive. Helpful resources, there's an absolute ton of helpful resources, so go out there and find them. I will say that people who have attended this webinar, there should be a icon on the right-hand side of your screen that says handout, and if you grab that, open that up, you can pull out of it the infographic that you see on the left, which is a global social media for exporters infographic. There's lots of information about YouTube and Instagram and social media platforms around the world. But also we use a lot of HubSpot, Hootsuite, and of course our own website, ibt.onl, has an absolute wealth of information resources that you can download for free. There's a lot of questions, so I'm going to get basically into that right away. Bella, I'm going to start with you. This is actually there's about 4 questions just on this. I'm going to synthesize into one, which is that basically if I'm a B2B company, is Instagram relevant? Is it a good platform for us? And if so, how do I get started on Instagram if I'm B2B, Bella?
Sure, Susanna. So it's a good question, and my answer is definitely yes, it is. It doesn't really matter if you're selling B2B or B2C, because you will find both on Instagram: private users, so the end customers, but you will also find other businesses which could be a distributor of yours. So only the way of interacting on Instagram, the way of posting, depends a bit more on who you are targeting, on your strategy, and also on your goals. So just as an example, if you want to reach another business, you might be a bit more specific on what you post, like a bit more specific on products or your services. You could create a bit more professional content, like promoting your blogs or case studies, or even infographics, which are relevant for your businesses you're targeting. And on the other side, if you want to create awareness for the end customer, which is also relevant for your business, you might want to publish a bit more of on an emotional level with the content, and make it a bit more visual than maybe for another business.
Bella, terrific. That was a very succinct answer. So definitely, if you're a B2B, Instagram is still relevant. Do it. Joelle, the question for you about buyer personas, and this is actually I'm sort of pulling together from a couple of different questions. If there's a company who has more than one product, so you're multi-product, so how can you then generalize about all your customers into one single persona?
Yeah, well, that's a very fair point, and you're absolutely correct. You shouldn't. So in fact, you can, and most probably will actually, have more than one buyer persona, especially if you're looking to export across multiple markets. The question then is, well, how many do I need? Well, in reality, I don't think there is a definite answer here. It really depends on the size and the scope of your business. Say different product, you want to target different people, but even if you're going internationally, how many markets you're looking to export into. I think best practices is you should start off focusing on 2 to 3 personas and then grow your segmentation to really as many as you need. I think one important thing is to remember that you don't really want to have too many overlapping characteristics across your different personas. So I would recommend sticking to between 3 and 8 maximum. So it's a manageable number, but it gives you enough variety to be able to target everyone a bit differently.
Great, terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Joelle. The next question I'm going to take, I think, which is just about the relationship between your in-market partner or your distributors and your social media. And again, this is, I'm grouping together a couple of different questions. A couple of different questions have come in about what role really I have a distributor in my export markets. He's doing my social media. Is that a good thing? And other questions are saying, should I give my social media over to my local distributor? And we always feel that in our experience, local distributors, local agents play a fantastic role and contribute a lot to an online marketing strategy. They're great. They might know local terms. They might be present in local trade shows and so on. But sometimes they're not a professional marketeer. Sometimes they're not actually a professional, sales and marketing online. They don't actually know how to define the right criteria, the right KPIs, the right strategy, and so you're really kind of doing it with one hand tied behind your back. And the other point that is, I think, more subtle, but often resonates just as well, is that a local in-market partner might not be totally aligned with the same objective that you are. So your company wants to develop your company brand in that market. Just have to make sure that your in-market distributor or in-market agent also just wants to develop your brand, not his brand, not someone else's brand, not on someone else's competitor. So we would always say, yes, they should play a role, but make sure that they're not leading the charge. Make sure that they're not, make sure that you, the company, stay in charge of your online space, whether that's owning your own website, managing your website, and managing your international online presence. All right, there's an absolute slew of other questions there, some of them quite specific. I think given the time, however, we're gonna wrap up. I said I'd keep it under an hour. I would really appreciate if you could all do that little survey at the end of this. That'd be very appreciated from all of you. We will get back to you individually about those questions that you put in about some about sitemaps, WordPress, different markets, Instagram, and so on. We'll get back to you by email individually. Please do fill out our survey, and it just really rests for me to say a major big thank you to Joelle and to Bella for taking the time out and sharing their experience, and to all of you exporters, happy exporting. Keep on going, and we will see you online. And thank you for attending our webinars. Thank you all. Have a great day. Happy exporting. Bye-bye.